What happened when you disobeyed in the Middle Ages? A man refuses to work, not forever, not in rebellion, just for a day. By sunset, everyone knows. By morning, he is summoned. By the end of the week, his life may never return to what it was. In the Middle Ages, disobedience was rarely private. It spread quickly, and it carried consequences that reached far beyond a single act. Today we explore what actually happened when someone broke the rules in medieval society, and why even small acts of defiance could become dangerous. Section 1. A world built on obligation. Medieval life was structured around obligation. People did not simply live where they wanted or work when they chose. Their lives were shaped by duties tied to land, lord, church, and community. A peasant owed labor. A tenant owed rent. A craftsman owed standards. A subject owed loyalty. These expectations were not abstract. They were visible, enforced, and remembered. To disobey was not just to break a rule. It was to disrupt a system that depended on everyone knowing their place. Section 2. Refusing work and daily duties. One of the most common forms of disobedience was simple refusal. A villager might skip required labor on the Lord's fields. Another might fail to repair fences or roads. Someone might delay paying dues or avoid communal responsibilities. At first, this might seem minor, but medieval communities were small. Work was shared. One person's refusal created more work for others, and that made it visible. Neighbors noticed. Officials noticed. The absence itself became evidence. Disobedience did not need to be reported. It was already seen. Section 3. The community as enforcer. There was no need for constant surveillance. The community enforced order. Reputation mattered. A person known for disobedience risked more than punishment. They risked isolation. Neighbors might refuse help during harvest. Tools might not be shared. Support in times of need could disappear. In a world where survival depended on cooperation, social exclusion was a powerful penalty. You did not need to be imprisoned to feel the consequences. You could be quietly cut off. Section 4. Formal punishment. When disobedience crossed a line, formal punishment followed. Local courts handled most cases. Lords or their officials judged disputes. Town authorities enforced rules in urban settings. Punishments varied. Fines were common. Public humiliation was effective. Offenders might be placed in stocks or forced to stand before their neighbors as a warning. Repeat offenses brought harsher outcomes. Property could be seized, rights could be restricted. Punishment was not only about justice, it was about visibility. The goal was to remind everyone else what happened when rules were ignored. Section 5. When disobedience became dangerous. Not all disobedience stayed small. Refusing taxes, ignoring authority, or challenging officials could escalate quickly. What began as resistance could be interpreted as defiance. Defiance could become disorder. Disorder could become rebellion. At that point, consequences changed. Authorities responded more harshly. Arrests became more likely. Violence became possible. The line between everyday disobedience and serious threat was not always clear, and once crossed, it was difficult to step back. Section 6. The role of the church. Disobedience was not only a social or legal issue, it could also be a moral one. The church reinforced order through teaching and expectation. To defy authority was often framed as a spiritual failing. Obedience was linked to virtue. Disorder was linked to sin. Confession, penance, and public morality all played a role in shaping behavior. This added another layer of pressure. A person who disobeyed risked not only punishment from society, but judgment beyond it. Section 7. Why most people obeyed. Medieval people were not blindly obedient. They understood risk. They knew what could happen if they pushed too far. They saw consequences unfold around them. They lived within systems that rewarded cooperation and punished disruption. Obedience was often practical. It preserved stability. It protected reputation. It ensured survival. Most people followed the rules not because they had no choice, but because the cost of disobedience was clear. Conclusion. In the Middle Ages, disobedience was rarely a single act. It was a ripple. It moved through communities, drew attention, and triggered responses that could reshape a person's life. The system did not rely on constant force. It relied on visibility, reputation, and shared expectation. And that made it effective. If you enjoy exploring how medieval life really worked beneath the surface, subscribe to TorchLit History for more grounded, story-driven history. And if there's a part of medieval life you've always wondered about, leave it in the comments. Because history is not just about kings and battles. It is about the quiet rules that shaped everyday life and what happened when someone chose to break them.